right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for My Hero Academia, Season 4, Episode 17.
I would have done it too if it wasn't for those darn kids.
Right. And we've got this Yoshikage Kire looking kind of purple-suited blondie boy.
I love it. Yeah.
Getting inside the head of Bakugo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Because there is truly
Wow.
nothing more frustrating than a little twerp that knows, haha, you wouldn't hit a kid, would you?
But in that respect, actually, yes, it looks like many kids will be hit. We are going to have a battle of kids' quirks versus semi-adult teenagers' quirks.
I can't wait for Todoroki to use fire on them.
I'm actually kind of excited for the prospect where one or more of them gets absolutely destroyed by some of the kids with their quirks. That will be
the calls from the parents will be unending. Yeah.
In that respect, wouldn't you expect actually it's already been such a big problem that in a lot of ways they're just do whatever.
Yeah.
Because the kids are probably already doing crap to each other.
Well, here's another way to think about it. In a lot of cases, the parents probably don't play much of an active role, and that's probably why the kids turned out like this.
Possibly, yeah.
But time for some explosions.
Time for some Great Teacher Onizuka level moves, unless we
drown them in a river. Yeah. Well, not fully. Just make them think that you're going to do that.
Yeah. Something on that level where they get scared on like that they're dealing with like a Yakuza boss or something like that. It could work. It could work.
It'll be just fine.
But these kids are some little So let's see. I hope that works out well. Stuff that happened in the previous episode was rather cool, though, was the Endeavor All Might focus.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we get more of that, because that was ridiculously good. And, there were more lead-in stuff for a culture festival things. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, and then come back here for the discussion. All right, we won those kids' hearts.
Okay, they did, and through an amazing way. I'm so glad that it didn't actually turn to fighting.
Right. So, of course, their quirks are, they're interesting, and they are strong, and they are definitely like a bit of an evolution on what we would expect quirks to be
at such a young age.
Mm-hmm. But it's not something that would terrify, of course, these, aspiring pro heroes.
Badass villains. They'll be just fine.
Yeah, especially, Bakugo and such. But Inasa's quirk is enough to just incapacitate and use all of them in, like, basically, in one move. So of course there's no problem there.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was the idea of showing the kids, one, you can't control us. Yes. Sorry, if you're gonna just flail around with your quirks like that, that's the height of immaturity.
Yep.
That is classic immaturity.
Right.
So let us show you what is actually possible with your quirks if you're willing to actually use them intelligently.
Todoroki starts singing Let It Go.
The whole thing of them making this grand super slide is funny, because I was like, my strategy would be, I'm going to make paper airplanes for these kids. This is the quirk equivalent of making paper airplanes for the kids.
Yep, exactly.
It's way cooler. But it's something that they can interact with and also add stuff to.
Yes.
Because if they built this, the other kids could then be like, oh, wait, what if we added this to that?
Yeah.
Like, that was essentially what they did, but the UA and Shiketsu High kids basically just, took the initiative with regards to that.
One of the reasons that I love this so much is because it's getting into kind of those slice of life elements of, let's say you did have a quirk like this, right? There's fighting villains and saving the world and all that stuff, right? But what would you really use it for? Like what would you use it for in the day-to-day?
Sure.
Because let me tell you, if I had a quirk like that, if I had just a quirk, I would bend over backwards to figure out some way to use it just in my daily life as much as possible.
Yeah,
because
of course,
why not?
Why not?
Like it's in my mind, it's the same thing as like if you have a knack for something, if there's something that you're kind of good at, then it can be a lot of fun and you like doing that more than other things. So if you have a quirk where there's something that you are physically capable of doing that breaks the traditional laws of physics, right? Yeah, you do that all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so seeing stuff like, we have ice powers. Let's build a slide. Let's build an awesome slide. Like, oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the kids getting their conflict resolved, and it was done in a very wholesome way. And Bakugo ended up talking to the leader and acknowledging him not only as a leader, but basically being like, hey, here's something you can learn as from someone that hasn't necessarily been the greatest leader in taking things the way that he's done it. But then we had Endeavor trying to be a dad to Todoroki to Shoto.
Yep.
And it was kind of a too little too late from Shoto in the way he responded. Which makes sense. But the fact that he basically said, okay, I'm not going to try and win you over. I just want you to see that, in the same way that I'm proud of you, I'm going to try to become the best person, best pro hero, best number one hero that I can be so that you'll be proud of me too. And it's like, okay, that's good because he's setting himself up for success by doing this.
Yes.
If he did this in such a way where he was trying to be like, I'm going to redeem the past. It's like,
no,
well, you're rolling the dice on that. No, he could. He could. But it's very unlikely comparatively to what he's setting himself up to do here. It would be the equivalent of him just trying to roll a d20 on one roll. Trying to roll a natural 20 on one roll of a d20. In this setup here, though, this is something that is completely independent of Shoto. There is nothing about what he's doing here that is incumbent upon Shoto's reaction or anything, really.
Yeah, it's just, hey, I know that basically because of what I've done, I don't have any place to like, like you can't accept me saying I'm proud of you and things like that. Totally makes sense. All right. Well, let me show you just how awesome your dad can be because I believe I can be that person and I'm going to be that person.
Yep.
For you, so just watch, right?
Right.
You don't need to reciprocate or anything like that.
Right.
Just let me prove it to you.
Yep. Which is literally what the UA and Shiketsu, that's the name of the school, Shiketsu students did.
Yes.
In this instance there was they were like, hey, we get it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have a symbol within your school or what have you to look up to.
Yep.
So just look up to us.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to see what Endeavor comes up with because I feel like before it was something where he had a problem, right? He had the problem that he was facing of I'm not you, All Might. So what do I do? How do I do this in my own way and make it work, right? And he was grappling with that, and I'd love to see that. Now it's something of, okay, I've made a decision. I have my why, I have my motivation, and it's strong, right?
Right.
I'm doing this for my son, right? So that he can actually be proud that I'm his dad and that I'm the number one hero, right? Okay, awesome. So now how are you going to do that? And like, oh man.
All Might asked the question to Endeavor, what's the reason? What is the reason to be strong? I'm going to bring this up in the actual episode here. It's really early on where All Might and Endeavor have like a little bit of a let me make sure I've actually found the spot here.
I gotta say though, the fact that we got to see Bakugo imitating Kami or Kami as Todoroki, Kami as Todoroki was wonderful.
Yes, that was beautiful. What is the reason to be strong? Endeavor. I'm sure the answer is very simple.
Oh, and he sees Todoroki smiling and playing with the kids.
And using fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, because
Yeah.
Because putting aside all of the awful stuff that has happened in the Todoroki family,
Right.
the desire of a parent, not Endeavor, but the desire of a parent for a child to embrace who they are, right? Yeah. And to become their best self and accept themselves and all of that. What parent doesn't want that?
Yep.
Right?
Really shitty parents, basically.
Right, exactly. Even someone like Endeavor, and even if it was something where he had his objective of why he wanted Todoroki to do it, and it wasn't for Todoroki's well-being, there's still that aspect where to see Todoroki actually using fire and smiling, it'll melt his frozen heart, like that. Oh man, yeah.
One of the things that's rather fascinating here is that you look at Todoroki as a character, and he's kind of gotten the most like development of all the side characters in a lot of ways. There's Bakugo, there's other characters as well that got tons of development as well. But with Shoto, one of the things that's fascinating about him is his development was so localized in season 2 that it's easy to look back at him and be like, oh, look at our good boy. But then you have moments where you're like, oh shoot, there was a point where he couldn't use his fire.
Right.
There was a point where he didn't smile. There was a point where he didn't really felt like he really had anything to give. Or if anything, he would just let out his frustrations in an uncontrolled manner. Here we see him actually like moving and acting much like a hero, but also someone who, I don't know, has a lot of love to give. He feels like a very warm boy now, not necessarily just a cold boy or kind of a standoffish boy or what have you.
Much like his character design back in season 1, he's completely changed. And I feel like this is something where because with Todoroki or Shoto, since there's 2 Todorokis in this situation,
right?
It was something where I absolutely loved everything that they did with him in season 2, right? And it made me really sad that we didn't see too much of him after that, right? Like he kind of went back to being sort of a side character, right?
Right.
Which just,
it's MHA's style.
It's MHA's style, but it broke my heart because the stuff that they did with him was so good.
Right.
But because the way they ended with his character was him basically going on his journey, and because he's not the main character, we're not going to focus on it, but it's something that he's working on, we can kind of basically, the fact that they have spent a bunch of time away from Todoroki, we can go back and revisit him here with things like this and see that he has grown, right? Yeah. He's not Deku, so we didn't see the whole long journey and whatnot.
Right, yeah.
But we know it was happening. And now we can see Endeavor here looking at his son and being like,
oh, yeah. He has grown quite a lot.
And I didn't do that.
I didn't do that. Yep. It's exciting because in some ways, Endeavor is still a person that has a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah.
And while we look at him here and we can go, oh, look at him try, one of the things that's very important to acknowledge is that this is something where he has to take the long, arduous road without Shoto acknowledging all the effort.
Yeah, that's very important because it needs to be something that is coming from Endeavor and runs deep, not just something that he's doing for the quick positive of being able to get Todoroki to smile.
Because this is an area where Shoto doesn't actually trust him.
And that's good. Like
I'm just trying to hold on. Let me keep going here. The reason why he doesn't trust him is something that is valid, meaning that there are going to be points where Endeavor will still have done, he'll probably have done more things to probably help the situation. And Todoroki Shoto is still probably not going to trust him.
Sure.
It's going to take a lot of time in order to have this kind of stuff happen. So what I'm hoping we can see here is that Endeavor gets basically a slow burn. I was waiting for that kind of pun. Slow burn development that we can at the very least look at, omnisciently as the audience to go, I see it from your perspective.
A lot like Bakugo in a way.
A lot like Bakugo
because the parallels between him and Bakugo...
Last episode, especially.
Sure, yes, definitely.
That was really strong.
But just in general over the course of the show, since Deku is the protege of All Might. Right. He's the All Might parallel. Then having the Bakugo parallel there is very strong.
Yeah.
And in this shot here where Todoroki is has the fire and it's the kids are warming their hands and he's smiling.
Yeah.
And Endeavor is looking at that. I love that shot so much. Like that whole 10-second clip is just fantastic to me because on the one hand it's the positive thing of the fact that he's able to do this is so wonderful, right?
Yeah.
But it's also he's able to do this not because of me, but in spite of me.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I kept him from being able to do this for a very long time.
Yeah.
But what if I stopped, right?
Yeah.
What if I became something that helped that fed that fire? Yeah.
So that leads to the talk that they have outside the school. There's a little stuff where they're talking about Shiketsu and UA doing more joint stuff because the League of Villains attacking them. There's this hilariously random moment here that I gotta somehow capture. It was so funny. With Inasa punching himself so hard he gives himself a bloody nose.
Yeah.
And it's so fast. Yep. I want to somehow so he takes his left arm, just punches himself super hard, and freaking Kami's just like, what the hell did you just do? What? I'm so confused. Actual blood and everything gushing out of his nose, and then he just goes back to the regular thing, and then Kami's just like, wait, I don't get it.
It's like coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Like, he punched himself hard.
So is this a thing where he's basically like, oh, Endeavor's a decent guy. Stop it! And then
well, no. Well, okay, it could be.
Or is it... Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's the other one that you were going to say, where it's that he's realizing that, oh man, I judged this guy. Now, granted, with good reason.
Right.
But it's not quite so simple. People are complex and people can change, and he's doing this, the person that I never would have thought possible.
Right.
All right, I was
wrong.
I was wrong.
Yeah,
right.
That's the other reason.
Yeah, and then he very statically goes up to Endeavor and he's like, I'm cheering you on. Thank you. You're bleeding a lot.
I love that his arc basically resolves here with regards to Endeavor.
Yep.
And then we actually get to see Endeavor smile.
Yeah.
We get to see me like, thank you. You're bleeding a lot.
Yeah.
But you realize what this is, right? This is the fan interaction as well that never really happened the right way.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Inasa coming back to this because he wanted the autograph back then. He doesn't really need it now.
But he expresses that I'm essentially your fan. I'm cheering you on to go do the thing. Yeah.
And then he kind of gives not just the arigato, but the, hey, by the way, you're bleeding a lot.
The concern,
The concern of yes, you're a person too. And I acknowledge that. So it's showcasing that they're both different people than they were back then.
Yeah.
So very cool stuff.
Right.
And then they had the Ippo moment, where it's one step at a time.
Yeah.
Sometimes looking back, one step at a time,
I feel like the fact that Todoroki looks at his dad as he's walking away is very important because I feel like it's a callback to when Endeavor spoke to All Might in the All for One versus One for All battle of what is that pitiful back?
Right.
Don't show me that pitiful back, right?
Sure.
And here Endeavor's going with purpose. Right? He's like...
He's not showing a pitiful back.
He's not showing a pitiful back,
and he's back on it with that was different.
That was different, right? And
looking back sometimes,
right? Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's something where the whole long, arduous journey that Endeavor will have to take in order to get Shoto's trust back. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Endeavor lives for that shit.
Sure.
Right? He loves the long, arduous journeys, right? That's how he got to this place in the first place.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also forgot that they literally had the whole thing of, it's going slowly. I'm like, the slow burn, literally said there.
Yeah.
The rest of this episode had kind of a montage moment of a lot of showcasing different things. We have Night Eye's funeral.
Aries situation.
Her forehead... horn is receding. Which, yes, I'm guessing that's what it is, right? Like, it's actually her quirk passively being used on herself.
Right, and that's why it's, like, slowly shrinking, probably, is because...
But that's bad. It can't go on forever.
Well, right, it'll go until the quirk's gone, and then she probably won't be able to reverse it anymore.
But that's the problem, is that... Oh, you're saying that if it goes back slowly enough, it'll go back to a point to where she doesn't have her quirk.
Right. Well, the fact that it slowly, one, shows that it's not some outburst, so it hopefully won't cause any issues.
It could cause some real physical problems, though.
It could
revert back to being a baby, basically. Is my kind of
maybe, but she's already so young that I don't think she would revert back more than like a few years, because doesn't it normally like awaken around like 4 years old or a bit before?
She's older than 4.
No, I know, but yeah. But it also could be something where maybe because it's slow, it's not happening on her as a whole. It's happening specifically on the aspect of her that has the quirk.
If this was basically the hint that her quirk is already being utilized passively in a localized area, she's already on the road to basically being able to go out and do life easily. The whole math thing was hilarious, just to see them doing regular school.
And they're doing freaking integrals.
Right, like, I never did this math.
High school.
I never did this math in high school. At least I'm pretty sure I didn't. Let me go back here. No. This is
log integrals. Oh, yeah. God, that takes me back.
I just, no.
And then, of course, Momo's like, yep, I got it.
I just love the way that Tokiyama's like, this is a question of the darkness. Like,
oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Deku got close, though.
Deku actually got pretty close.
Like, he was off by just like a number error. Yeah, the denominator was had a multiple of 2.
So this bit with Aoyama, I have to mention this. So here's something that I've always kind of wondered about Aoyama, and I kind of hoped that if it was ever brought up, it would be handled in a mature way.
Gotcha.
There's a possibility that Aoyama likes Deku.
Ah, I see.
And of all the characters in UA's 1A class, who is the most fabulous by a mile? Like, not
definitely
even...
Ida.
Yeah, definitely Ida, clearly. No, it's Aoyama. It's Aoyama, and I was always like, okay, awesome. I love how confident he is in it. We are being brought into the idea that there is a little bit of a contradiction within his confidence. He is not confident regarding his quirk, because his quirk is one that does not work well with his body.
Right.
Now, there's all kinds of jokes you can make with the physical comedy of his quirk and what have you. But I feel like they're trying to juxtapose the comedy and the serious here, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with it, because what I'm getting here is that Aoyama is actively seeking to be friends with him.
Right.
But because Aoyama is kind of treated in such a like over the top, not silly way, but just kind of goofy, kind of
well, and he himself
extravagant
is like behaves very goofy. Right?
Yes.
And how much of it is the way he is versus him covering up for the insecurities and stuff over the fact that his quirk is something like he needs to actually be mechanically aided in order to just live a normal life.
Yes, and I thought all along, I think that was what they had potentially been like setting up, but changing it this way I think is really cool, is that it was just a thing to help focus his quirk. It wasn't necessarily something that he needed in order to
like the web shooters for Spider-Man.
Exactly. But this is more to. There's more to it than that. Also, it has to be this, because this is not some like toga kind of thing.
They made that clear later when they had him continue talking about it just after using his quirk.
And using his quirk, right? So it's definitely him. There is a possibility that he's potentially the traitor. I don't think so, since they went and did the actual like character stuff after this, because I think then this whole thing here with the scary part
is just supposed to be comedy.
But also in some ways a little bit of see this. Okay, see this from the perspective of someone that when you really like someone, when you really, really like someone, you can end up doing things that look a little creepy.
Oh, definitely.
And you don't intend it to be creepy at all, but you still are being kind of creepy.
Right.
Aoyama here giving him a plate full of cheese that's saying, I know. I know can actually be seen as like a little bit of like we have a connection kind of word there. And Aoyama
he thought he would actually eat the cheese.
And he thought he would eat the cheese as part of
what's going on?
Right. So I think we have to take this specific part here, skipping ahead to the end part here, where Aoyama is trying out how to use his special move. So he has one where it's a piercing one, and then another one where he's so precise with it, he can write out like the kanji for like a little bit of poetry or something like that. I have to wonder, is this him basically being like, hey, let's be friends?
I think it's something like whether he likes him or not.
Yeah,
it's something where he wants to establish a greater connection because he sees Deku as being a kindred spirit in some way, where he's experienced something that Aoyama has had to deal with his whole life, right? Yeah. So of course, like that's something where he's wanting to, at least talk to Deku a bit more.
Right.
Now, why he went onto the balcony and had the plate of cheese there rather than, say, just like knocking on his door, who knows?
He's a baka, probably.
Right, he's a baka, yeah. And maybe that's to cover up some nervousness or whatever over the subject, because it is it is something that is sensitive for him, right? He didn't really feel he didn't seem like he was comfortable when he was talking about it. It was a touchy thing. Like, I need to wear this belt, otherwise, and which is great because then that's another essentially not a reference, because it reminds me of Cyclops. It reminds me of Cyclops.
Oh well, yeah, he is basically belt Cyclops.
Belt Cyclops,
yes,
right? Which is great.
It's very much a Cyclops kind of situation.
He even wears a red thing over his eyes.
Yes, I wonder though about this bit where he's all like, "Yeah, it was a huge success." And I was like, Deku, you're kind of lying here.
Right.
You're kind of, it's not that you're lying, you're trying to make him feel better more than you are actually trying to connect with him, it seems like. Now, while they definitely do, and he says they end up becoming friends after this, he says, thanks, your surprise was a huge success, Aoyama. And then he gives this look of like, no, then it really wasn't actually. Yeah. I almost have to assume on some level that he's basically like, no, you didn't get it. You didn't get it, Deku. Like, yeah, maybe you're smiling now, and that's good. And if we actually look back at the context of what's been happening recently with Deku, Deku was not doing well time-wise very recently because of the whole Aries situation. Remember, that was a very short amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
So Aoyama is the one that's been constantly looking at the camera for the wall breaking, which is hilarious. But he's probably also the one that's really observant in this case, given what we, show here, specifically of Deku.
I feel like he's either hyper observant or not observant at all because he's too focused on himself. But yes, sure. I do think the most likely one is that he's super observant.
So if he's super observant of Deku, he saw how Deku was doing in the previous arc, so to speak, even though that was very recently in terms of time. And this is him actually reaching out to be like, hey, I can be your friend if you need one when you're not doing well. He doesn't know necessarily how to express it, and in some ways this is something where potentially this is not him asking for help or anything, but him being like, hey, like, I sometimes get lonely too. Like, I sometimes need someone, and this is the best way I know how to do that.
And I'll bet that the fact that he sees this, right, could be very much something where Deku being down, he might not have realized that was because of Eri, right? Because he wasn't privy to all of that stuff. Now, they did kind of mention it later, so maybe he does actually know. But I wouldn't be surprised if he saw it and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. He's got an incompatible quirk too." And it's really starting to get to him. You know, like, oh man, that sucks. I've been there. Yeah.
There is a very real possibility, though, that he's just actually crushing on Deku. like that whole thing of Aoyama and I became friends, and then they show him with all the rose petals and stuff
and
like
the
that.
Cheese.
And the cheese, yes. He's definitely like, still offering, his boons in his French way, as he does.
I mean, cheese is delicious.
Cheese is amazing. Yes, yes. Get a cheese friend. They're amazing. But if this is just the beginning of his development, then that means that what we could be seeing is this is how they segue into culture festival related stuff, is that all the characters that got minimal development over the course of the last 3 seasons prior to this are going to get focused here.
Sure.
So Aoyama, Jiro,
Invisible Girl.
Invisible Girl, I don't know, maybe.
Probably not. They'll probably miss her.
What would be a character though that besides Jiro I think would be a good one to focus on here? Kaminari.
Yeah.
Shoji.
Sure. Yeah, that would be cool.
Sato, Sugar Rush.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Tokayami, maybe. Tokayami didn't really get like character development. He more got like
quirk
exciting kind of development stuff.
Maybe Mineta, but probably not.
No, not Mineta.
But no.
Yeah. I guess if anything, we already got the stuff with Kirishima and Mina.
If they touched base with good. Tsuyu again, that would be great. But they probably aren't going to do that.
Okay, that's it.
There we go.
That was a interesting montage-y kind of
very
segment of a whole bunch of little things episode.
Yeah, like first part, second part, but it was great.
But then lots of little things peppered in between.
Yeah.
But all right. Now that we got through that cheesy discussion, we can end this here. Thank you all so much for watching the episode's reaction and discussion. That was so bad.
It was
so bad.
Cheesy, but whatever.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to see our full-length timer reactions for these, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. Any level of support gets you access to our Discord, where you can chat with us and the community there about this show, about anime in general, and you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep, that's right. You've heard of it. You will love it, hopefully, when you watch or read it, watch it. It is rather cinematic, I think, at points. But the point is, I wrote a sci-fi novel called Battle Lines. It's on Amazon. Link in the description down below. It's awesome. It's in both hardback and ebook. Go get it.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.